Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon. Thank you for coming and sitting with me while I show you how I created this beautiful upcycled tray. And during the process of making this, when I've gotten almost to the end, I make a terrible mistake. But that doesn't always mean your project is ruined. It just means you gotta fix it. So I'll show you how I made the mistake, why I made the mistake, and how I fixed it. But first I took this chalk paint and I painted the back side of my tray and around the outside of the rim. I always like to do the back sides first because I don't want my finished artwork laying flat while I'm working on the back. And while I was at it, I went ahead and painted the inside of that rim. Right here I'm just practicing painting a straight line. I'm going to paint the bottom of that tray white so that I can put some decoupage paper over it, but when I get a chance to practice, I practice. And I love this color blue here because it matches so well with that paper. Now that that's all dry, I'm going to apply this crackle medium. It's just a one-step process. Well, it's a one-step process as far as fine line crackle has two steps. This one only has the one medium that you put on before you put your top coat of paint. So what you're going to do is you're going to cover whatever you want to crackle with this product, with this medium. And you want to get a good coverage. It will depend on what your crackle looks like at the end, because if you have a nice thick crackle somewhere and then you put a thin coat somewhere else, it's going to change the appearance of the way it crackles, which is fine if that's what you want, because in reality things age differently in different spots depending on what they're exposed to. So I mean, it's perfectly fine to do it that way, but a thinner layer of the crackle medium will produce a thinner crackle. So once that layer is completely dry, I'm taking some white chalk paint and I'm just going to paint right over the top of it. And you want to put a nice thick coat on there. You don't want it running off the edges, but you want it to cover well. Sometimes your chalk paint will get a little thick. Add just a little bit of water to it, it'll spread better. Now you can see it's already started to crackle there because on that spot there at the bottom, I don't have as much crackle medium there as I did on the other spaces. It's drying faster, but you can see it's starting to crackle before I even get my dryer out. But once you start drying it, now you don't have to use a dryer, you can let it dry naturally and it cracks beautifully. But for the benefit of making this video, I wanted it to dry faster. I didn't want it to take me several days to make it. It ended up doing that anyway because of other problems, but anyway, you don't need to hear all that. But as you see it drying, the cracks, magic starts to happen, and it's just an amazing thing to watch. I often wonder when aged and old became popular. In times past, somebody might have seen that and said, oh, this pot's old, I'm gonna need to replace it. when I look at it, and I love the way it looks. I love the vintage look of it. I hope people think the same thing about me as I get older. Look how beautiful that has cracked, and you can see where I've had more crackle medium in places. There's one little strip there that it was not as thick. I don't mind. It's the back side, and I kind of like the way it shows the aging differently in different areas. But yeah, there's your crackle finish, and it's really pretty. You can see that I've decided to go ahead and do the sides. I wanted it to be a cohesive piece. You will need to put some type of varnish or sealer over it before you say it's done. But I thought I'd just do the last side with you. I'm applying my crackle medium here. And when you've got something that you're applying vertically instead of when it's laying down flat, you want to make sure that you're controlling your drips, especially in there where the little hand holder is. You want to make sure that you don't have big globs dripping in there. Once you get it on, dry it. I would recommend doing a side at a time. That way you can control any drips you might have. And again, this is the Snow White chalk paint from Waverly. I get it at Walmart. But you could use any chalk paint that you have. Now I know Pin Art, whom I love, makes a one-step crackle finish. I don't have it, but I wanted to use the product that I have up first. I don't like to waste things. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will go ahead and order the Pinterest products because they are a step above, I believe. That's my personal opinion. You may be just fine with this one. I think I got that at, I think I got that one at Hobby Lobby. Again, once you get your white paint on, you're going to either let it dry or dry. You can see how quick it's cracking. I think that particular type of crackle medium was actually made for chalk paint, because chalk paint has a tendency of cracking a little bit on its own as it dries. Now, can you use it with acrylic paint? I'm not sure. I haven't tried it, so I don't want to say yay or nay on that. You may already know. I think this would be pretty on a plant pot, a pot for plants. Any kind of stone work outside in your garden, it would be pretty on. Just make sure that you're sealing it properly. At this point, I have already finished painting and I have sealed the sides and the back. And now I want to make sure before I start working on that bottom tray that make sure it's clean, that nothing has fallen in there and it's going to cause me problems when I go to paint it. Now this is the paper that I chose. I love it. It's so pretty. It's the prettiest blue, a mixture of blues, and that white rose is just gorgeous. So I kind of measured how I wanted it to go up on the sides there, decided how much to take off. This is where I bought it from. It's from the Shabby Hummingbird. She always does these envelopes that have the picture of her paper she's created on the outside, which honestly you can also use that for another project. But her papers are just beautiful, and the way she sends them are just beautiful as well. She's on Etsy. And now you know I don't like decoupaging with straight lines on my paper, so I'm going to use my brush with water on it, and I'm going to tear along the edges to make it an uneven edge, no straight lines. Now this is not like tissue paper. It's a little stronger. It may have some fibers in it, so you may have to put more water than you would have if you were using like a napkin. That's okay. You just put as much water on there as you need for the paper to actually pull apart. Okay, so we've got our paper, the edges the way we want them. Now we're going to take a really close look at it to make sure we know where to put that paper, because once it's down, you really don't want to have to pull it up and recenter. So give it a good eyeball, and you're going to see how far up on the sides you're going to be going. And then you're going to paint bottom of the tray white, or some very light color. It could be ivory, white, soft yellow, beige. It's just you want it to be a very light color. You will be able to see a difference in the paper that you're applying your decoupage rice paper. It'll be more vibrant in color when you have a white background underneath it. You also want to cover up the design that's already on there. You can see I'm practicing my straight lines. But I don't want the white paint to go up there on the sides. Now I am going to be painting that because I want the paper and the paint to come together seamlessly. And I may be using some white up there. If I get a little bit on it, it's not a big deal, because like I said, I am going to be decoupaging and painting over that. I will use that background color as part of the painting process because it so well goes with the paper itself, but there'll be other colors put on top of it. Okay, once you've got your piece painted on the bottom, just make sure it's dry. And chalk paint sometimes will have little pieces that stick up and cause a little bubble or a little hard speck, kind of like a plaster look sometimes. Just make sure it's not poking up, so it's going to cause a problem with your paper when you're laying it down. Now we're ready to put our paper on. At this point, just make sure it's where you want it. What I like to do is place it and then put something on the paper toward the end that I'm not actually working on at the moment, so that it holds it in place. And I'm using Pentart glue and varnish. It does have a varnish inside the product. I love this product. I mean, I was always a Mod Podge girl because I just didn't know about Pentart. But this product is so nice. It's a thinner It's not as gloppy as Mod Podge. It's thinner. It goes on smoother. And I think it gives you a prettier finish. It's not to say I haven't done pretty things with Mod Podge. I have. But this product is just a step up from that. And I really recommend it. I'm taking this little squeegee that I got from Decoupage Queen. It's wonderful. It's foam on one side and plastic on the other. And I'm kind of gently making sure that that paper goes up into the crack, the edge of that tray. I don't want there to be any air or bubble underneath where those meet. And then I'm doing a section at a time. And I'm pulling that paper back just a little bit farther than where you go past where the glue ended before, so that you don't have any dry areas between your next page and the glue, or your next piece and the glue. And again, I'm using my little squeegee. And I like to work from the middle out. I've kind of speeded this process up because you've seen me do it before. And honestly, nobody likes to watch paint dry or glue dry, so you can see how I've taken that design and I've placed it right up along the edge of the inside border. You're going to dry that off. And you will put, once you've got that pretty much dry, you will put another coat on top. Like I said, it's got a varnish in the product. It'll help you seal and protect your product. Here comes the second coat. If you were putting that on something and it didn't need to be painted around it or anything like that, you could have this coat, the second coat of decoupage glue and varnish as your final product. You wouldn't have to put anything else on it. It dries in a matte finish. I do believe they do have a glossy, I think they do. They also have one that has a little bit of glitter in it that's gorgeous at Christmas time or for Valentine's Day. Anytime you want to add a little sparkle. But I am using the matte. I like the way it dries. There's a soft sheen to the matte without it being overly glossy. If you've never tried the crackle technique before, what I like to do, and especially if you want to know what colors work well together, go find an old board or something, a piece of wood. My husband's a home builder, so he's always got wood that they throw away that I can go and get my hands on. But your husband may be a woodworker, or you may have a friend who works with wood that can let you use some throwaway pieces, and then practice on those. Like put a different dark color on the bottom one, and then like black or blue or even red. You could do whatever color you wanted to on the bottom, and put your crackle finish on there, and then a lighter color on top, and just play with it and see what you come up with. You might be surprised. It will also show you how to perfect the technique. And now we paint. Again, I've sped this up. And sometimes you just have to work with what colors you have. I've got blues and I've got grays, and I've often found that in most pieces there are more colors in that print than you'd ever imagine. There are teals, there are dark blues, light blues. There's almost a black in there. There's a silver gray. There's white. So I just take a bunch of my colors, put them on a little piece of paper, and just start. You might find that you've put on a color that's too dark. Well, if you did, just go over it with a lighter color. So a lot of times you can take colors and mix them up on the paper before you put them on your project. Whichever way works for you. I do it both ways. Sometimes I just can't find a color that I'm wanting in the store, so I have to just mix it until I get somewhere close. And I know I've said this before, but I like to paint up onto the paper too, so that it blends better. And I use these sponges a lot, and I use brushes as well, but I like to do a dabbing technique. It gives it a little bit of texture because the paper has texture. So you don't want like your textured paper coming up next to something that's like a flat color or a smooth finish. So that dabbing does help create some texture. And you can also do that with a brush. You can take the end of the brush and dab. And there are some times when you want to kind of do a little sweep of a color. But for the most part, when I'm putting on my base colors, I like the dabbing technique. I don't know, is that called stippling? Maybe. Now I'm going up along the edge there too, so that paper doesn't look like it just stops there halfway up the frame. And I've kind of sped up the process here too. Painting takes the longest time in your project, but it's so relaxing. I don't mind. I could paint all day. Turn on some beautiful music, paint. Your mind seems to go far away from whatever is going on in the world, going on in your life. You and the paint. It's very relaxing. Trying to make sure my phone is off. My grandson has tried to call me. My husband's tried to call me. I got a grandson that wants to spend the night. You can see that little stem there I've taken and I've brought it up further on the side of the board too. And what I like about the background color that I use is I don't have to paint every little piece of that because that color is in that picture. I can use that as part of, as long as I blend it right, so there's not an abrupt stop. I can use that background color in the painting process. Those roses are so pretty. It feels like you could almost smell them. They're just gorgeous. I see roses like that and think, okay, I'm going to go plant one. But every time I do, they don't come out looking like that. This would be such a pretty way to actually give someone flowers, especially if they're allergic to them. Look, I've brought you white roses that you can look at and they will never fade. I'm also going to be putting a resin pour on the bottom of this, so after 30 days when it's totally cured, you could set up a vase or a vase, I guess depending on how much it costs. I think that determines how you say the word. But you could put a vase of beautiful white roses and sit it in the middle of the platter. That would be beautiful. Or have the platter standing up behind a vase of beautiful white roses. And you can probably hear my dogs barking. They bark at everything. Could be a grandson coming over. I don't know. We'll have to see. I've tried everything to make them not bark. I've tried those sounds that you push when they bark. They can only hear. Doesn't work. Works on one dog. She runs out the back door, but the other, the male lab, he'll bark anyway. I like the way that one of those white roses there on the top right almost looks like a whisper of a rose or a shadow of a rose. It's not really defined. I like the way that looks too. It's as if the camera is not in focus in the background, that it's picking up the roses that are right in front. Okay, I went and stopped the dogs. They were barking at the Amazon man. I wonder if they're barking because they don't want him to come in, or they're upset because he didn't. Anyway, I think I got him calmed down, at least for a few minutes. You're probably wondering when I mess up. It's coming, I promise. I am almost finished with this tray when it happens. You can see that I'm just taking colors and blending. I'm even using the same little paint foam brush, dabbing it in different colors. It's a lot of times I'll change my brushes. Like if I'm using white, I try to keep the white on the white brush. But if I'm doing different colors of blue and grays, I'll use the same brush a lot and just keep dipping into different colors. I find that it gives me a better blend. And sometimes I have to take a paintbrush and get into those edges. You can see that I kind of brush it into the crack, but I am using the tip to kind of pounce on it so that it doesn't look like a flat surface. And I do sometimes have to dry it so that I can keep going. And if you're wondering what it's going to look like when it's dry, you can always put that heat gun on there and dry it, because paints have a tendency of drying a little bit either lighter or darker than what they are when they're wet. I find most of the time they're a little darker, but they do change somewhat as they dry. So if it's a color when it's dry that you need to fix, you just blend over it. I love taking things that people throw away, think they don't have any purpose anymore, and making something new with them. Isn't that what God does with us? We mess up, we think, okay, we'll never be fixed, we'll never be whole, but then He takes us, our brokenness, and turns it into beauty. Now you could have stopped there. If you wanted to, you could have just put the rice paper on the very bottom of the tray. And a lot of times I do, but I didn't want to lose the roses. So, and the beautiful silver gray stems. So I decided to go ahead and bring that design up along the edge there. It wasn't enough to completely cover the edges, but it was enough to cover half of the two ends where the hand pieces are, where you hold the handlebars, whatever those things are, the handles. And again, I'm using that background color as part of the paint process there. I'm not covering everything up. Right there, I just took a dry brush and I'm kind of blending the paint colors. Again, I've sped up this recording. I don't move that fast. Not anymore. Those roses, look how beautiful they are. These would be pretty on a piece of furniture, a small tabletop, small dresser. On a picture frame. The possibilities are really endless. There's some real dark spaces over here, so I am using a little bit of black. But I'm going to blend that in really good so that there's not a distinct line between the black and the blue. It's like a shadow, I guess. You can see here I'm trying to mix up some of that teal color there. you'll notice I had to move that large paintbrush. It's because I'm notorious for just flopping it down in a puddle of paint. I do one or two every time I'm working on something. When you look at a painting and it's got all these different colors that you've blended together, it gives the painting depth, I think, and movement. It's not static. If that background was all one color, it'd be honestly a little boring, and it would look flat and static. When you're blending all these colors together, there's movement, there's shadow, there's depth. It's way more interesting. Just about finished painting the inside of that tray. And to me, it will look perfect. And then I'll mess it up. What I'm doing here is I added a little bit of white on top of those blues, and I'm taking a dry brush. I'm just kind of moving it around so that it doesn't look like a blotch of white. And I'm using back and forth brush strokes and the pouncing technique, stippling. Now on to the next step. Oh, here I am going to be adding some highlights to some of those stems. It looks like this picture may be going into nightfall. I don't know if you've ever planted a white garden, but white flowers at night when the moon is out is spectacular. They're almost luminescent. They glow, and some of the vines, they do look silverish in the moonlight. Try one out. Take a little piece of your flower bed and turn it into a white garden for you to sit and look at night, on a full moon especially. You'll be amazed. You can see that one side of the painting is lighter while there are shadows, and it's darker in the other. It reminds me of night coming. And you know how the sun moves and the shade moves with it. Okay, now here we go. This is where I'm about to cause a big problem. As you know, I love to put scripture on my pieces. And this is a transfer. I got this off Amazon. If you have a Cricut, you can make your own. But my daughter has a Cricut, but that's just one more thing I don't want to have to learn right now. So if I need something, I usually go to her. But I did buy these off of Amazon. You can look up scripture transfers. And as you're pulling it off, that transfer paper off that backing, you want to make sure that you pull up all of your little letters. Some of them might want to say, just take your, I don't know what that is, a piece of plastic that they give you, and just rub it across it to make sure that your letters are all coming off at the same time. Now, I wonder if you can guess what I've done wrong, because I am in the process of doing it right now. You will see. You want to make sure that your letters are straight, not crooked. To me, that's the hardest part. It takes me a while to make sure that my letters aren't crooked. So I'm taking my little brandishing stick, I guess, and I'm rubbing those letters onto the board. And I don't know if you've ever done transfers before, but you just rub them down until you think they're stuck, and then you gently remove that transfer paper off the top, and then you're left with whatever you're transferring on your project. I don't know what kind of glue this transfer paper had on it, but it was like Gorilla Glue. It was really sticky. So when you're removing it, very gently remove it. And if you see some letters coming up, you just go back over it with your little brandishing board there. And just carefully remove that tissue paper. Now you're about to see the horrible, terrible mistake happen. I've got most of the writing on the board and it's fine. But then I start having problems. And I start praying because my paint is coming off with the paper. Not just a little dot of it, a lot of it. And so I'm praying, Lord help me, Lord help me. I'm trying to get that paint back on the board to stick, rubbing it down. I'm saying, oh God, what am I going to do? It's bringing up my paint. Yeah, you see the paint coming off? I'm freaking out at this point. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Well, there's nothing I can do but keep going. And thought, so I think, okay, let me take my heat gun and see if I can heat that area up and make the paint stick again. It was a good idea, but it didn't work. So this whole time I'm praying and asking God to show me what to do. Trying to rub it down again. A little more heat. I'm trying everything I know. And at this point, God says, just rip off the Band-Aid. And I'm going, wait, what? Rip off the Band-Aid. I'm hearing that in my head, but I'm thinking I don't want to do that. But finally, at this point, I've got no choice but to do what he says and rip off the Band-Aid. And rip the paint off with it. And the little scripture reference. You see, I'm still trying not to do it. When I already know that's what I have to do. Still struggling with it. He's already told me what to do to fix it. And I'm still trying to do it my way. All the struggle's real. If I just ripped off the Band-Aid when he said, I would have saved my time, so much struggle and angst. So at this point, I've taken off a large portion of the paint and the entire scripture reference. I don't have another one. But as I said, my daughter has a Cricut, so I asked her to just reprint Song of Solomon 3:4 for me in black, as close to that uh, font as possible. A lot of times the scripture reference is just a little bit different anyway, so I wasn't too concerned. But now I'm taking off little pieces that were stuck there so that I can get back to a clean board. And at this point, I'm just going to have to repaint that section. Have my daughter print on her Cricut another scripture reference. But he's told me just repaint that part and replace the scripture reference, and so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna trust that process. And I'll tell you why this happened. Normally, I would have put a sealer across the top of that work after I painted. I would have let that paint dry completely. And I think I did let it dry a day. But I did not seal it first. I didn't protect it from the elements. I didn't protect it in any way. I knew better. I knew I should have done it, but it was the next day and I just forgot where I was in the process. But before you put your transfer down, you do need to put some type of sealer across your paint. You can see it didn't really mess up the paper, but it took off my paint because I left it unprotected. So next time I will seal it first, let it dry completely, maybe seal it again, let it dry completely, then I will put my transfer down. Like I said, I don't know what kind of glue they used on that transfer, but it was insanely sticky. I won't fear that that's going to come off easily. You can see I'm having to get my paints out. And yep, I'm going to have to touch it up. Oftentimes you'll be in a project and something like this will happen and you think all is lost, when it's not always lost. Sometimes it can be redeemed. You can fix it. At least I would suggest trying to fix it. You're not covering up your mistake, you're reapplying paint. But in the future, after you have painted your project, put a sealer over it before you do anything else. Make sure it's dry. I was so worried about this piece because it's going in my Etsy shop and I wanted it up before Valentine's Day. But I should have known to trust what he told me to do. At some point here, I calmed down after I ripped the paint off and I said, okay, let's do this. Even if I had to totally repaint the whole thing white, start over, it wouldn't have been a loss, it would have been a learning experience. That doesn't mean it wouldn't have hurt, but I learned a lot making that mistake. And I'm grateful that I came out of it okay. Product came out okay. The project was saved. But I learned a lot from that mess up. And you'll learn from yours. I just want to encourage you as you go on your creative journeys that when something happens in the middle of it and you think, no, it's a loss, just stop and breathe and pray. Ask the God who colored the world how to fix it. There's no better artist than the Lord himself. Just look around you. here I'm just taking some of that silver gray and extending those vines, stems down into the blue. Those stems, and I don't know why I call them vines, but those stems already have a little highlight to them, a little silvery highlight, and I'm just kind of accentuating that with my paint. You don't have to do any of this part. You don't have to highlight what's on the paper. It's entirely up to you. Only you know when your project is finished, when it's at a place where you think it's done. And that done for you can be different than somebody else's done. Like I said, as it dries, it's going to change some colors, so you may need to go back in there and add a few more highlights, darks or lighter colors, whatever you're feeling. What I didn't want was a clear distinction between one color and the next, on the background especially. Because light changes color. If you were outside in your garden and you were looking down at your flower bed, the light, as it moves along the bed, changes the color of what you're looking at. It always does. Light changes things. So I didn't want there to be like a clean line between one color and the next. I wanted it to kind of flow from one into the other. And I didn't fast forward this part at all. I mean, I didn't make it fast. I didn't change the speed. So if you want to move on to the next part, feel free. This is just me being picky. And I probably should have sped up the video a little bit, but I didn't. I'd encourage you, before you make any changes on it, go to your next step if there is one. For me, I'm going to put a resin pour on it. Let it dry really well. Walk away from it for an hour or so, come back and look at it. And you may look at it and say, hey, it's finished. Or you may look at it and say, oh, let me add a little bit more color or change this color over here. There's no rush. There's no time frame on when you have to get it finished, or at least there shouldn't be. If you're on a deadline, it might be different. I don't try to put those type of deadlines on myself anymore. I used to. But right now, what I'm addressing here is the very edge of the board, the tray itself. I'm going back over that with that original blue color, and I can't remember if that color is, I think it's night sky, or but whatever color it would be. I'm just putting that over the top of that. Now you could leave it blue like that. It's very pretty. It's really pretty with just the blue finished edge. It's a chalk paint like all the others. It's my favorite medium to work with. But I decided to do a crackle effect to toss the top to match the sides. Either way, it's pretty either way. To me, this looks more finished. I did a crackle effect on the holes where your fingers go, and I did the crackle effect along the top. And you can bet your bottom dollar before I put that scripture reference down, I'm going to seal that. And I'm using Duraclear satin varnish. Again, PentArt makes a lovely product. And as soon as I'm finished with all that, I will probably order PentArt. But it came out really pretty. The only thing I can say about this particular varnish is I could see brush strokes in it when it dried. Now maybe if I had put a coat on, it would have cleared that situation up. I don't know. But I knew I was going to put a resin coat over it, so I didn't really care because I knew the resin would fill in the creases in the brush strokes. But this is what I should have done before I even transferred that scripture onto my board. I should have protected my paint. I should have put a sealer, a top coat of some kind, any kind, on it, and let that really dry. Preferably overnight to make sure it's cured, but at least put one on and dry it with your heat gun or hair dryer before you try doing anything else. And I did put a coat of this Duraclear over the entire piece, the front, the back, the sides. It protects your paint, it protects your finishes, and it's also pretty. This is a satin finish I think I used. It's one of my favorites. A satin or a matte, I do love those. But I do like resin pours on the bottom of my trays because I think it protects them. Especially if you're going to be putting stuff on your tray. If it's not just a decor item. I don't necessarily think I would put food on it because it is a resin product, and I've heard that after a certain time, after it's cured, that it's possibly safe, but I'm not recommending that because I'm not an expert on it. But I'm not saying you can't put a plate of food on there, but do not put food directly on the tray because it is resin. It does have chemicals in it. But after about 30 days is when resin is fully cured. And honestly, if you were going to put something on the tray, I would try to wait at least 30 days before. Like I said before, I would put a vase on that tray with white roses in it, or I would put it, I would just let it cure for the 30 days before I started laying things in the tray. Okay, it's all painted, it's varnished, and now all I need is my daughter's Cricut, her Cricut piece that has the scripture reference on it. And a funny thing, she did it for me and brought it over. She's a school teacher, so she's exhausted by the time she gets home, but she did it for me that night and brought it over, and I said, oh, thank you, didn't even look at it. Well, when I went to put it on, I noticed there was not a transfer paper on it. I thought, oh, well, maybe I just have to put it on letter by letter, which I did, and it scared me to death. And I said, oh, I didn't know I would have to do it, pull it off letter by letter and make sure I got it straight. She goes, oh my gosh, I forgot to put it on the transfer paper. And I thought, oh, you're kidding me. So I did. I put that little scripture reference letter by letter on that board with a pair of tweezers. Use transfer paper. It's so much easier. And now I'm going to put my resin pour in. Now, it's equal parts A and equal parts B. It's always a two-step process with this. And the one that I had before that I used up said to start for 3 minutes. This one said to start for 5. So that's what I did. Just you start from the middle in slow circular motions and you move your way around to the edge of the cup. And you'll notice here, this tray was just a symphony of lessons for me. I didn't mix up enough resin because I thought to myself, I just want a thin covering on the bottom. I don't want a thick one. I just want it to kind of cover up the work. When I thought, oh, well, I'll just make it spread out. Come to find out, I couldn't make it spread out to the edges or cover the entire piece. But doing a second resin pour works really well over the pieces that you've not been able to cover up. You can see I'm going to try to manipulate where this is flowing to, try to get it to the corners and the edges, move it around. And I was so close to having enough, but being close doesn't count. Another lesson learned. Pour enough resin. If you make more resin than you need on a certain project, you can always pour it into one of your silicone molds if you have one, and use those on another project, which is what I do on the second pour. I have a silicone mold that I like to use on certain projects. It's an IOD mold, and so I just took what was left over on that second pour and poured it into a mold. And then I'll be able to take that out and paint it and use it on another project. This little tool that I'm using is just a silicone tipped tool that I found on the aisle where they sell resin at Hobby Lobby. And it just helps you move your resin around, and it doesn't stick to it. They're really nice. It comes in a pack of 3 and they're different sizes, but they're really nice to be able to move your resin around with. You could use a popsicle stick, you could use a toothpick, but these are really, really nice. I like them, and they're not expensive. You could probably get them on Amazon as well. Maybe look under tools for resin. got the light just right, you can see where it's not covering all the way to my edges. There are some spots in the middle that it didn't pour into. There's some little like holes where the resin didn't go. So yes, it will take another pour. But that's okay, because this doesn't dry super fast. It's not like the white resin or the black resin that sets in 10 minutes. This takes a while. This takes overnight to really dry. But even then, I've done projects where I've poured half my mold, put some snowflakes in it, waited a day, and then did a second pour over the top of that. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. This would have been nice to have it all done in one fell swoop. And you can see, guys, the scripture reference is there. The paint is back and it's beautiful. Didn't have to throw it away. Didn't have to throw a fit. Although I was close. Yeah, I was trying to make that first application work. It just didn't. It just wasn't enough. Just make sure that you read the directions on how long you're supposed to stir yours. Like I said, the product I had before said stir it for 3 minutes. This one said 5, so I did it for 5. And I'm pouring around the edges where it wouldn't go, and then over the tops of the holes in the middle. And I'm going to have some extra here, so I got out this mold, this IOD mold, and I'm just going to fill that up. And I'm over pouring in the mold, but that's okay, I can fix that. But these make pretty little additions to anything that you're working on. You can put them on I've put them on wreath signs, I've put them on framed pictures. If you wanted to add some flourish to the plain frame, they're amazing. You can take them, and they work with either clay or the different types of resin. You just take them out when they're dried and paint them. Normally on the clay you take them out before the clay is dry, and then you can paint it then, but with resin you let it dry completely, then you can just release it from the mold. Take your tray and just move it around under the light to make sure you don't have any places that you've missed. And it does self-level, so there's a good chance if you missed a spot it might cover it up in the end, but I like to make sure at least everything's covered, and then I let it self-level overnight. Once that resin dries, it's completely sealed. That paint's not coming off. Clean up my mess there. I do recommend wearing gloves. I don't always, and then I'm sorry I didn't later because resin is sticky. And I have this little torch creature that I always have trouble starting. I like it better than a lighter because a lighter uses up the lighter fluid too fast, but this little torch works really good about getting rid of bubbles. You don't want to get it too close because you can set your resin on fire and it's a little scary. But this process takes out all or most of the bubbles. I don't want to say all, nothing's ever perfect, but there are bubbles that appear in your resin because of the stirring process, and they will float to the top. So I always do this right after I do a pour. I'll run that over the top of my resin to get rid of any bubbles. I'll let it sit for a little while, maybe 30 minutes, and come back and see if there are any more bubbles that have floated to the top. If there are, then I'll do the little flame again. But that takes care of most of the bubbles that show up in your resin so that you come up with this beautiful crystal clear finish. It's like looking in glass. Now while this resin is still wet, if you wanted to add a little bit of glitter or something small and like glass pieces that look like glitter, now's the time to sprinkle them in. And there you have it, back in one piece. So I encourage you, if you mess up on your project, don't fret. Take a breath, pray. And most of the time it can be redeemed. Just like us. This is my second time to go over the top there. And my old hands have trouble pushing that button on the side to get it started. Again, don't get it too close. You can watch the bubbles pop. You can't see it on the camera, but there are bubbles popping. Popping a few big ones that came to the top there with that silicone tool. I hope you have enjoyed our time together, learned something. I encourage you to try new things. See what beautiful things you can create. This is for sale in my Etsy shop if you're interested. Have a blessed day. Love you guys. Bye.